Balls of Steel, but gets rooted. QSS is away. Ultimate still up for the next disengage tool, but
meanwhile, keep your eyes on the mini-map. 2 lanes pushing here for Samsung. Minions in the mid lane, and SK Telecom have to flee.
On into this one, he's gonna flash. Ooh, what? That wasn't flash, I'm sorry. Crown block forward though, and just turns back around.
But they zone them away from the minion wave that's flooding into the top side here. Meanwhile, this entire time, Cubase on the bottom side, also with a Baron buff, and Samsung slowly flows.
Now the second inhibitor taken with the turret gun. There's no reason to defend SKT. Back to lick their wounds as Faker clears the bot lane. The rest of the team sits by the Nexus, cowering behind their structures for a bit of solace and defense. But Samsung Galaxy now 8 turret kills in. There is not much base left for SKT.
Cube and the rest of Samsung trying to land a little bit of poke before they go for this turret here. Once again, SKT need a big engage, especially from Peanut on this Gragas, but there's no flash available. Lost it before when they also lost the Baron. Rula, step forward.
But he's getting a few chunks into the turret. The perfect ultimate still, as you're mentioning, the thing SKT needs.
No QSS just yet here from Rula. Still on cooldown. Vega can flash snare him and then they can try and chain him down, but there's a Janna next to him.
And they don't have much time to work with either, because Samsung have checked all the boxes. 2 inhibitors down and super minions making their way into the base. Now there's only maybe 1 more wave left of health on this bottom turret, and SK Telecom being pushed to the brink.
Rulu's played pretty much perfectly in terms of dodging away from the crowd control using Quicksilver Sash, Flash, or his ultimate, whichever one's exactly needed. Even knowing the ranges and sidestepping the scale shots when he needs to. This could be the one that the inhibitor turret falls, and if it does, SKT once again likely to retreat without a structure to fight back for them.
And QSS is now ready again on the side of Rula. Peanuts flashes up, another big one for that potential fight. But Cordia J is so far back. Look at this, he's playing so safe. He knows he could be a target.
Cannot be found. A few more attacks will knock down the inhibitor. The flash forward, looking for the play, not going to get anything for themselves. Goody blocks off a little bit. Here comes the Cataclysm, and it could be just that for SKT as they're forced to retreat the Realm Warp just to buy some time. The Quicksilver Sash gets rid of suppression, but it does mean the damage comes through. 2 Nexus turrets left remaining as 1 kill has already come through. Samsung Galaxy hoping to knock down these bricks and build that foundation of greatness. Faker silence, the flash for the knockup, but no kill to come through just yet. The turrets fall, and the Nexus in front of their eyes as well, looking to snuff them out as another kill comes through. Kube transforms back, and Samsung Galaxy are 1 game away from greatness.
They can see the finish line, but so many teams have been up 2 games against SK Telecom and been unable to finish. Samsung have a lot of room to work with though, because this is actually a 2-0.
Exactly, it is very rare we see someone go up 2-0 against SKT. First game, they won the early game. Second game, they won the team fights. That really breaks your confidence. SKT right now might come into the third game completely changing up their plans, and that needs to work. Samsung are in full control at the moment.
3 back-to-back victories is what it would take for SK Telecom to continue their dynasty.
Yeah.
What an incredible ask, considering the way that these first 2 games went.
And the thing is, you know you can't count them out, despite how convincing these Samsung games have looked. We've seen SKT reverse sweep this split they did against the KT Rolster Super Team in the LCK playoff to get there. We know they can, but Samsung Galaxy again so close to snuffing that flame. Now to hear more about that game 2, let's send it down to Dash and the analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Last year, it was SK Telecom T1 that was up after the first 2 games, 2-0. This time around, Samsung Galaxy up 2-0. But gentlemen, coming out of game 1, going into game 2, be honest with me, did any of you think that that was the composition SKT would craft, thinking that that would give them the victory?
The Yasuo caught me a little bit off guard.
I think so.
Just a little bit.
I mean, take a step back. Choosing red side again, I think, was largely to get that pick for Huni, to get Huni the Yasuo. And it worked till it didn't. It was a lot about adaptation and play, I think, but the draft wasn't actually the crucial factor to me.
Yeah. No. I think a lot of it really was down to the decisions that SKT made, the fights that they chose around the Dragon Pit 2 times in a row, where it didn't seem like they're necessarily on the same page, where they're not fully coordinated. And when you do draft for a Yasuo, you have to be in a side lane. You have to be winning in that side lane, and when they fall behind, it's hard to come back.
John, I think there was a pretty distinct difference, though, at least in the way the early games played out, because this time around, it was SKT with pressure in pretty much all 3 of the lanes.
Yeah, and I feel like at first they did attack Ambition. They ended up getting 3 of the buffs. They got the flash out of Cuvée and the top side right away, and the Rise was an early game counter pick to the Malzahar because of how easy he could kill the Voidlings, and it generated a lot of pressure. They had Huni come down mid, get a kill. They had Faker go up top, get another kill. Like, the things were working that they had planned with the red side for the game 2 to try and do to Samsung what Samsung did to them. But then, crucially, they couldn't clinch in the team fights.
Execution, execution, execution. Let's take a look at that big team fight. Azael, Acer replay, 20 minutes in. Samsung Galaxy 5 for 1 near the Drake.
And this was already after one lost fight that they had before, and so much of this comes down to the setup from Ambition. Him coming in with the setup, and then Cuvée coming in.
Yeah, I mean, Cuvé's flank here, the perfect amount of rage on the Gnar. Huni knows what's coming, he tries to stop him, but the 3-man Gnar against the wall, instant double kill. This was huge.
Yeah, and Samsung just came together better in that fight. Watching it right here, Huni got in 3 auto attacks by the time 3 of his teammates were dead. So they got comboed way too hard by the Jarvan, Xayah, and Gnar combo.
Let's take back a moment, though. They've counter-picked for top lane. Huni's job previously had been to play his own lane. The Yasuo is about being the Gnar in the side lane. I think one thing we have to question is, why were there multiple team fights? Why were they opting into fights? Because to me, the only way SKT could lose with that lead, with the Yasuo, was fighting.
And I absolutely agree. We were saying before the series that Huni was going to play for Huni and the rest of SKT would play around that. Yet even in matchups where they weren't getting mashed on teleport by the Gnar, Huni was teleporting in and giving up some of his lane advantage. If he does hard split push in this game and they play disengage with the Gragas over and over again, finding picks with the Rise, that's the game plan I thought SKT would have. So beyond just not executing in team fights, why are they there in the first place is not a question you often ask about SKT, but it was evident that game.
And it was something you could ask, honestly, 3 times in that game at least. You know, with Cuvée having teleport down, Huni TP's down to the bot lane for a fight, nothing happening from that. And he was almost 2,000 gold ahead after getting the solo first to gold.
I mean, come on your screens right now, talking to the team, a situation that they have not found themselves in before here on the world stage, being down 2-0 in the final. As Kobe mentioned, that's a huge ask, even for a team like SK Telecom T1, to pull 3 games back to back to back in order to hold on to your reign and that title and the Summoners Cup.
And they don't even have side selection for Game 3, which could just be, once again, Samsung on blue side. They won't have it for Game 5 either. They've tried 2 different styles, both of them with the focus on denial. That hasn't worked. I don't think we're going to see Varus Gragas on red side again. I think they need to start giving Samsung comfort and finding comfort of their own because they don't have much to hold on to.
And I'd even say, is the Lulu really giving you that much value when you're skipping over something like a Syndra into the Malzahar? You know, he's blind picking Malzahar 2 times in a row. 2 times in a row, Faker has the counter pick and really has not made him pay.
Yeah, and I find it interesting that I still see Peanut sitting in that chair. I'm wondering if Blank is going to be subbing in, just as we're wondering if Samsung's going to be taking the blue side. You would expect Blank to be subbing in, as they have done so often during the regular season, but to the point, 2-0 down in the World Final. No SKT hasn't been in this spot before, but they've been down 2-1, and they are undefeated in elimination games, 9-0.
Flip side of the matchup is Samsung Galaxy. You saw the player cams throughout the game itself. They are feeling it, right? They feel like they're on fire. They said it themselves. We said it. They've got to come in with confidence today if they want to take down SK Telecom T1, and they're playing with it.
It's one thing to say, it's another thing to do. So many teams at this point have been 2 wins up on SKT. None of them have been 3 wins up on SKT at the World Final. They have a chance to sweep. They just have to be able to play Game 3 like they did Games 1 and 2.
And Jack, you're leaving the door open for SKT, and I think that is everyone's natural inclination, but today feels like a different day. It really does feel like Samsung going to get over the line. My original prediction was 3-2. I'm not going to sit here and say 3-0, but it's feeling more like a 3-0 than a 3-2 for Samsung Galaxy, to me at least.
Oh, well, I mean, you got a response to that real quick?
I mean, we just have to remember, last year's World Finals, we're sitting in the opposite position. Samsung pushed us the distance, right? It went to a Game 5, and it was very, very close. So we do still have to give SKT the credit.
All right, well, that's going to do it here for this segment. It's time now for Samsung Galaxy as they've grabbed another win and are just now 1 Smash Nexus away from the Summoners Cup. Stay with us to see if SKT can keep the series alive in Game 3.
return.
Limitless skill. Only one remains.